Hi everyone, in today's video we're going to look over the revision for enhancing materials and finishes. So just to recap what we went over last year, so you need to know how and why materials can be enhanced, how to enhance polymers, how to enhance timbers, and then how to enhance metals. So with polymers, so the way that you enhance polymers is by adding an additive. Now there are a number of different additives and they all do slightly different things. So the set we've got at the minute, they will improve your function. So things like flame retardants that make it less likely to combust near fire. Fillers that bulk out and make you need to use less and also make it heat up or cool down faster. Antistatics that reduce the amount of static electricity that it attracts. And then plasticizers that make it less brittle at normal temperatures. Next, you have ones that can either encourage degradation or prevent degradation. So you've got bio-batch additives, and those will let it break down, like allow plastics to break down in a matter of months as opposed to a matter of hundreds of years. So you've got oxidation, oxygen, photodegradation from UV light, and hydrodegradation from water. And then you've got biodegradable plasticizers, and they make it more flexible, softer, and easier to break down. So in terms of preventing degradation, you've got UV light stabilizers. So those will, for example, if you take a children's toy, put it outside, and then it fades in the sunlight and becomes weaker, add UV light stabilizers that will prevent it from happening. Then antioxidants, they will reduce the environmental degradation of the polymer when it's exposed to oxygen. You can then make polymers less expensive to produce. So your thermal antioxidants, so they'll prevent it from oxidizing or discoloring due to excessive heat, as opposed to excessive UV light. Making polymer, you then got lubricants, so that makes it easier to get in and out of molds. So if you take like baking, for example, and you like trying to get like a cake out of the tin, and you've got all the residue left over because you've not lubricated the pan properly, you haven't greased it. Same thing with molds. If you can add wax, calcium, or something like that to the plastic, that allows it to slip in and out of mold a lot easier. And then enhancing aesthetics, you can add pigments, and they can add loads of different colors for whatever you need. So those are all the plastic ones. So for timbers, so first of all, why do we need to enhance timbers? All because when they get wet, they get considerably worse. They are highly combustible, so they are very likely to catch fire if they are near a fire source or excessive heat. They're susceptible to rot or insect attack, and they're anisotropic, which means they've got a clear weakness in one side, which is along the grain. So if you were to just put a lot of force against one side of it, the grain, it would snap in half. So how do you enhance timbers? You can add resins, you can laminate them to get rid of the weaknesses. And then 4 methods for enhancing metals: work hardening, annealing, case hardening, and then hardening and tempering. So that is all recap from last year. So if you can't quite remember that, please look over your notes or look at the video for the first year content, as it'll go through that in more detail. So what we want to do now is have a look at some exam questions. So like with the other ones we've talked about so far, with the exam papers, it's very rare it's just one topic you need to go over. So in context for this, it might well be it will give you a children's plastic toy as like an image. It then might actually talk about materials it's made from. With the first part, then talk about the manufacturing processes. Might be the second part, and the third part might be, okay, how do we enhance the properties? How do we make sure it's going to be suitable to use outside? How do we change the colours? So you're combining plastics processes, and then enhancing the materials. So it's making sure you can combine more theory topics together. So, first question. For each of the following materials, name a suitable applied finish, explain how it could be achieved, and describe its purpose in a particular application. So you got sheet aluminium, plain square red softwood, mild steel, and sheet of MDF. So just to go break down for it, so make sure you read the wording of the question carefully because it's telling you exactly what it wants to talk about. Okay, so there's 4 questions there, 4 materials there. So 28 marks in total. So there's 28 marks in total. Each one of those is worth 7 marks. Okay, so in those 7 marks, you need to name a suitable finish, 6 marks have to get. Explain why it's suitable, got 5 marks to get. Explain how it's finished, 4 marks left. And what does this specific finish do or protect from? 3 marks. And then the last 3 marks are backing up each one of your things with evidence. Okay, so that's how you break down. So obviously just looking at that and then looking at 20 marks, it's quite intimidating. So simply, okay, this form, we've got to talk about all 4. That's what we've got to make sure you read, so it doesn't say pick 2, it says for each of them. All 4 of them, 7 marks, and it's told you what it wants to write about. Now, obviously, then it's doing it and then backing it up with evidence. So 28 marks, pause the video, give yourself 28 marks, use your textbook, use your notes, have a look through, and then we'll go through the answer. Okay, so just going through the mark scheme here. So for 1 mark awarded for the appropriate apply finishes, so whatever it may be. These adjunct terms such as paint, varnish, or oils should not be accepted. So you've got to be more specific. You can't just say, "I will just add a paint to it. I will just add a varnish to it." You need to be more specific about, because obviously the paint you would apply to a sheet of aluminium will be different to the paint you would add to MDF or to softwood. So you've got to be more specific. And it says like that, so water-based acrylic, paint, varnish, Danish oil, etc. So you get another mark for appropriate application, e.g. body panel, so like what it will be used for. So the example here is body panel, so that would be like the sheet aluminium, plain square red softwood, okay, that would be in construction, mild steel, sheet of MDF, so what would the most common uses be for that? And 4 times 6 marks to be valid between application of finish and purpose. So that means that basically, if you think you know more about, say, finishes and uses of MDF, you can write more about that if you don't know as much about, say, mild steel. Now, it's worth noting as well, if it says you should use diagrams where necessary, it is asking you to use diagrams. Okay? So there is just a broken down answer for you to have a look at as well. Next question. Many materials degrade due to environmental conditions, and so certain products have a protective barrier applied. For each of the following, explain how they degrade. In each case, describe a suitable finish and explain how it could be applied in order to provide the necessary protection. So hardwood garden furniture, mild steel climbing frame, aluminium bicycle wheels, card drink carton. So again, same as the first question. So it's telling you exactly what it wants. There's 4 things to write about, 28 marks, so 7 marks for each one, and pretty much the same things. So it wants to say, how does the material break down? So will it rot? Will it mold? Will it rust? What is a suitable finish for it? Why is it suitable? And then how is it applied? So again, 28 marks. Pause the video, answer it with your textbook, and then we'll go through the answer. Okay, so just to go through a couple of examples. So take garden furniture, for example. So you can't accept things like paint because you've got to be more specific. So if we take hardwood, as the high cost of the raw material could only be justified aesthetically if the grain is visible or wax. So here with hardwood, the reason it's saying not paint is because typically hardwoods, because they're more expensive, you're less likely to paint. If it was say like MDF, you would paint it because it doesn't look very nice. But if you get hardwoods, typically you're keeping it for the natural grain to look nice. So that is why you would use things like varnish, teak oil, Danish oil, like that. Okay, so that's why it says here. So accept basic names varnish, teak oil, or polyurethane, yacht, things like that, and stains. So then other possible uses, so climbing frames, you can accept paints, galvanizing, plastic coating, powder coating, bicycle wheels, anodizing, and drinks carton, varnish or laminated with clear plastic. So that is the end of finishes and enhancing materials revision. If you can't remember anything from the first year content, the first year video has gone up on the YouTube channel as well, so please have a look through that. Otherwise, send me a message on either Teams or my email and I'll get back to you.